Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show. Normally we do 2 of these a week. However, it is October, it is the October-thon, it is Halloween, it's the time to be spooky. Therefore, we are doing a bunch of extra episodes. We're firing them out, rapid pace. And last week we did Slumber Party Massacre, which was a first time watch for Tim. Not for me, I'd seen it before. However, this is exciting, because this episode is going to be Slumber Party Massacre 2, which neither of us had ever seen before. So I was excited for this. I was, like, what's this going to be? And here we are. We're going to talk about it. I'll start spoiler free, and we will give you warning before we go into spoilers somewhere in the middle, depending on how much we can talk about without them. And yeah. So, although mild spoilers for the first movie, because it does follow on, there's a couple of things that follow on from it, which I was not expecting. That had actually been my first thought, is that I thought it would just be a random new set of characters that had no connection to the first movie. But sure enough, the little sister, who was about 12 in the first film of one of the main girls, is now about 17, 18 herself, and it's her and her friends that are going to be the group for this one. And they're in a band together. It's an all-girl band. They play songs, they practice in the garage, and they do all this stuff. And one of their dads has bought a new condo, so they go there for the weekend, which is the slumber party, the titular slumber party. But in this one, they actually invite the boys, as opposed to the boys just kind of sneaking in. And they're all there. Unfortunately, the main girl, the little sister from the first one, Courtney, she's having visions and like nightmares of this mysterious killer who, instead of a regular drill for a weapon, he has a big, ridiculous electric guitar that's got all this extra stuff in the body. It's this really weird body shape. It's got all these spikes on it. And he's got a big drill at the end. Like, the neck of the guitar goes into a big drill at the end. And he's like, he's in her dreams. He's haunting her. But is he real? Is he coming to get them on their sleepaway? Oh, it's not sleepaway, sorry. That's a different franchise. On their slumber party. Who can say? Maybe once we get to spoilers, we can talk about it. Okay, so I'll ask the question. Tim, did you enjoy Slumber Party Massacre 2?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. It's definitely crazy, a lot crazier than the first one. And we're both fans of movies that sometimes are bad or cheesy or whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely not a good movie. But I definitely would be lying if I said there weren't many a time where I laughed at the ridiculousness of it. But at the same time, it doesn't reach the heights of like other, so bad it's good kind of movies. So yeah, it's a fun, cheesy movie, but it's not like the best example of that kind of movie I've seen.
Tim.
Yeah.
How do you not understand the masterpiece that is Slumber Party Massacre 2? It is a gem. It is a diamond in the rough. I will never forget this film. It has touched my soul in some of the deepest ways imaginable. It is, oh boy, it's spectacular. Now, I'm being a bit facetious. No, I liked it quite a bit. I had a lot of fun. It's funny, I actually would probably end up saying I liked it about as much as the first one, although I like them both for completely different reasons. Yeah. Which is really weird. I think the first one has better kills. It's a better horror movie. In a bad way, but it's a better horror movie. I had more fun in that sense. Whereas this one, it's the actual slumber party. It's the characters being goofy. It's the over-the-top kind of attitude. Like, whenever the killer actually appears, there's like a guitar lick in the soundtrack. It's like, like every time he appears.
There's full-on musical numbers.
Oh, there is, yes.
From the girls themselves as well as the killer.
The killer is like this sort of greaseball kind of leather jacket. He thinks he's rock and roll. In fact, he yells, "That's rock and roll, baby," before he kills people. That's what he does. And by the way, he's credited as the driller killer.
I noticed that.
I also have another bit of trivia. There was 2 policemen in this movie who, by the way, were terrible actors. They were atrocious.
Awful.
Not that the acting from everyone else was spectacular, but they all kind of fit into that cheesy 80s movie in their acting.
The girls were like more charming.
Yeah, they were cheesy. Like the drummer from the band. I don't remember the names, but I remember the instruments they played.
Yeah.
The drummer from the band is really ditzy one. Like sometimes she had that California twang just a little too strong.
Yeah.
Like really, like it was kind of like that. But like these two police officers, like the way they spoke to each other, the way they treated them when they came out and it turned out to be a false alarm, and the way they're like, hey, the guy's holding our table at Denny's, let's go back. Like they were, I loved the scene, but it's because they were so bad. But did you notice their names?
I did not know.
Officer Kruger and Officer Voorhees.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny, I remembered hearing Kruger in the movie. It was, I noticed this properly in the credits, but in the movie I noticed Kruger, but I didn't think anything of it because Kruger's still a normal name. Like people are called Kruger. Diane Kruger is a name. But when I got to the credits and they came up like side by side, Officer Kruger, Officer Voorhees, and I went, oh, I see what you did there. Who's the captain? Captain Myers? Like,
Captain Leprechaun.
No, don't you dare put them in the same league as that green little shit. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know, right, over the course of October, we've been doing a top 100 horror movies. We both assembled a top 100 films, and we split it into 4, because it took quite a long time. We did the first 25 already. It's already up, you can check it out. Numbers 100 through 76. And Tim actually put the first Leprechaun movie on his top 100 horror films. It shouldn't even be on the top 1,000 horror films.
As I explained, I have nostalgia for it because it's the first horror movie I've ever seen. And I don't know, maybe you don't care about those kind of things, but loyalty is something that I appreciate it, So, hey, I mean, maybe it's easy for you to forget the people that...
It's not my fault you had a traumatic childhood, Tim. It's not my fault.
No, it is your fault having a dramatic adulthood, but
I want to actually quote the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer here, because in the first episode, and Welcome to the Hellmouth, Cordelia has a line when Buffy almost attacks her by accident, where she says, "God, what is your childhood trauma?" And that's what I'm thinking right now. That's what I'm thinking of Tim for loving Leprechaun so much. But anyway, so the girls, they're in a band, they go to this house, and they have this slumber party where they get drunk, one of them gets naked for zero reasons, and they have a pillow fight. And it's glorious. Do you know what it almost felt like? Have you ever seen Night Trap, the video game?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I actually was tempted to get it. I think it's on PS4 now.
Yes, they did a remastered version of it. It's I actually watched some people play it, and seen a fair chunk of what the story was. It goes in places I don't think you're expecting.
Okay, I might have to
pretty out there.
buy that at some point. But I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, it has that kind of cheap. It's just, but it the actual slumber party. So this pillow fight, it goes into slow motion as this cheesy music is playing. One of them's topless because they spilled something on the top, and they just, we're in the mood. And another one gets her shirt off but keeps the bra on, and the others are just sort of they're all jumping up and down and hitting each other with pillows. One of them even takes out the pillow feathers and sprinkles it over them in slow motion, and it rains down on them as they're fighting. Of course, the boyfriends have arrived outside and they're watching this through the window, and they think they're in heaven because they've stumbled. I didn't know girls actually did this.
Yeah, they actually commented on it. I didn't think this happened in real life. Yeah.
But I love it. It is so not ashamed of what it is. It is glorious.
So I think here's my problem, and
Okay.
And you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. Because I was a little lukewarm on the first one, and I have somewhat kind of similar feelings on this one. But I think what I really want is a combination of these two movies, because I love the crazy wackiness of this. They basically turned up all the slumber party aspects, which were great. They're super fun, super cheesy, very funny. But then I feel we were missing the good kills and stuff.
We were. The kills were a lot more basic. They weren't as inventive. They didn't have those creepy little moments where he's sneaking up behind them and stuff. That is very true. That's where I'd say it was why it's kind of equal, but for different reasons. Had I had that as well, this would have been like, next level stuff.
Like
but
it's still a good fun movie, but oh man, if there was just a way to combine like the first two movies, I think you could have like a really really cool memorable movie.
I love
But
the one of the main boyfriends, TJ. He's like in a really bad way. He's awful, right? But
Yeah.
he's like awful in a really funny way, where he's got this really bad, annoying laugh, where he's constantly pulling pranks on people and being awful, and then going, and he's just he's cracking me up. Something awful.
What I love is whenever the girls' band is playing, or when they're doing like synchronized dancing, because before the pillow fight, they have like they just start playing music and start dancing to it, but it is such a like crazy choreographed, like, oh, this isn't just people like getting up and dancing, this is like them doing a number. But
Well,
if
do you know what I like about it? Because I don't typically like musicals, because I don't really like that kind of thing. This is in this really weird middle section where it still feels cheap and simple enough. Like, don't get me wrong, it's choreographed. They've planned this, right? But I kind of get the impression that this is something these girls have danced to before. It's not like...
Oh, yeah, they're not like doing backflips or anything over the top. But what I don't know if you noticed, but anytime they would do that, or when they're playing their instruments, like if just look at their face, and they have the most lifeless like look on their faces, like I think maybe they're like trying so hard to remember like the dance moves or how to play, or if they're not really playing the instruments, how to look like they're playing or something, because they just have this really weird vacant looks on them whenever they're doing that. And that was like hilarious, especially because their band, it's kind of it's like a rock kind of band, but the way they're doing it, they're just kind of like slightly moving from side to side. It like doesn't match the music at all.
No, it doesn't. It also has that effect where it doesn't sound like it's been performed in the scene at all. It just sounds like it's been pre-recorded and it's playing over the top of it. It always feels like that.
And I gotta say, I was very shocked to see the main character was played by Crystal Bernard, who I knew as Helen on Wings, a show that I watched growing up.
Never seen it. I checked just before we actually started, because I didn't think it was the same girl, the same actress that played the little sister in the last one, and I don't really blame them. But that said, though, the time difference is like 5 years of a difference. It's actually perfect. Like, they could have used the same actress, but for whatever reason, they went for someone new.
I didn't even like realize at first that they were supposed to be the same person until I think they mentioned it a little later on. At some point.
Well, it's pretty quick, but they mentioned that her big sister after, because you see all these like flashbacks on the opening titles to the first movie, and we find out her sister. Like
it's like flashing back to her sister in the mental hospital.
And her sister. We find out her sister went to a mental hospital because she hasn't been able to cope with everything went on. But we know that she was still involved. She was still around for the killing. She was hiding and everything from the killer in the first one. So basically, the movie is she's worried she's going crazy, and she keeps imagining all this crazy stuff happening, and then will a killer actually eventually show up? And it's called Slumber Party Massacre, so you'd kind of expect that at some point there's going to be a killer showing up.
It kind of makes the ending of the first movie a bummer, because it's kind of like, oh, happy ending, the girl survives or whatever, and then this you find out, oh, but she's in a mental asylum, she went crazy.
It's kind of that typical thing that some slasher sequels do to try and justify having a sequel. They have to like get rid of or kill off or give a negative twist.
They can't just have a normal life after.
But hey, especially since we thought Valerie was probably the most interesting character in the first one, and now she's in a mental hospital, like, whatever. Now, you said you wanted a fusion between these two. Who knows? Maybe the third movie will be that fusion.
I'm excited to check it out.
It could be. It could be the ultimate Slumber Party Massacres, part 3. This time on Earth, everyone will hear you scream. Well, I'll give it a spoiler warning so we can just get more specific and talk about moments and stuff. So they go to the house, they find a blow-up doll. Apparently, like the bass/singer's brother was using the house, and he was using a blow-up doll. So that's like around for a lot of the movie. So
I like that he just like leaves the blow-up doll in his bed as if it was like a real person. Like if you had one of those, like wouldn't you, I don't know, shove it under the bed or put it in a closet or something? Like, I don't know. He like just had it sprawled out like it was a teddy bear or something.
No shame, Tim. No shame.
All right.
Oh, not me. I'm saying for him. Obviously.
Sure.
Shut up. So So she starts imagining stuff. The lead character Courtney, who's the one of the guitarists, by the way, just again to sort of link them to their instruments, and then her best friend, the one she's closest to, is the other guitarist, who's the only one who honestly looked like she belonged in the band because she had like a sort of thin tie on, so it kind of had like a sort of kind of rocky punky look to it. Everyone else, like the drummer, looked like she did not belong in a band like that at all. She looked like your dumb blonde it girl kind of.
Well, I think the way they counteracted that was by always having her drum something with her drumsticks, like in every scene.
Oh, so you're saying it was convincing that she was a drummer because she was constantly drumming things. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah, like she's in the car, she starts like drumming the backseat, and
I don't know. There was times when she were actually performing the songs, and it felt like she'd never touched a drumstick before in her life. The way she was hitting the drums.
Yeah, again, that goes back to like they just have the weirdest like.
It was just kind of like.
Yeah. Like, this is how you play instruments, right?
Yeah, and the audio version got none of my acting there. I do apologise, but I was imitating the movements. Yeah, so you get that. But so some of the weird things she start obviously she has these nightmares of this killer, this sunglasses, leather jacket. He's got this guitar. He's kind of sleazy and creepy, and he's a talker. It's kind of a weird thing. It's I feel like this movie's killer is kind of like. It's kind of like the Freddy Krueger version of a standard serial killer, if that makes sense. Where he does talk and he does like constantly kind of, and it does actually feel kind of nightmare-like whenever he's in one of these dreams. So she starts imagining stuff. She imagines that a chicken jumps out of the fridge and attacks her at one point. She imagines that there's a hand in her burger instead of a burger, right? She imagines that our friend gets this giant water in her face and then it bursts on her. It's actually a good makeup effect, this actually. It's really disgusting. Like, all this yellow fluid starts like flying at her. It's pretty icky. She also imagines the bath is full of blood, but that's whatever. That's typical. Standard.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting actually. Most of the like kills or gores or scares or whatever seem to come from like dreams or something she has, or these kind of weird like visions.
This is where I was starting to think, like, as the movie was going along, I'm like, this really all seems like it's in our head, and I really started to think where this movie was going is that she was going to be the killer. Like, I thought she was going to go crazy, and then eventually she was going to be the one who started killing people. But in her head, it was this guy with the guitar drill, right?
Yeah.
But then later on in the movie, this guitar guy just shows up and starts actually killing people. He kills her boyfriend, who's we start the movie. She has dreams of this boyfriend that she's not technically dating yet, like topless, smiling at her. Is this like cheesy?
Jogging.
Yeah,
slow motion
again, shameless. And of course, they ask each other out, and
they give something for this movie has not just topless women but topless men as well. It's a very equal movie.
That's very, very true. And they ask each other. Actually, our friend, the other guitarist, asks them out for her in the most awkward way when they're both at a traffic light having this long conversation. Because traffic lights, they last long enough to have this long conversation. Of course they do.
There's like one traffic light here in LA that I got stuck behind before that I swear took like 5 minutes to change. It was like it was unbearable. It was like late at night and I needed to take a left, so like I couldn't go, and I was just waiting. I was like, I swear this is taking forever.
Yeah, I think it's because it's time for when it's really busy, so it makes more sense to let a lot of cars through. But yeah, obviously, it gets to like 2 in the morning. It's like it's dead. There's no one here. Let me go, you asshole. But like, yeah, this was like broad daylight. Like, there's no way this should be like it wasn't like a busy street really. It was a quiet neighborhood. There's no way this light should be taking this long. This is a stupid small complaint, of course, but nah. So the characters are all fun and goofy stuff. So the driller killer guy shows up, and very quickly, I want to point out that I was kind of noticing that I'm like, this is going to turn out to be a dream or a nightmare because he kept teleporting. And I know slasher villains have this whole thing where we joke that they teleport a lot because like Michael Myers will only walk, but he'll still get there and stuff. But this guy, it really feels like they've just left him, then they'll turn around a corner and he'll be there.
Yeah.
And it started to feel more and more like that. So I was starting to get, okay, this is going to turn out to be a nightmare. It's going to be all in our head. It's going to be okay kind of moment at the end. Or she's going to turn out to already be in the mental hospital, which is actually kind of what the ending was. But Hey ho.
Now, here's my question.
Yes.
So I've been working a lot of overtime lately, and I've been very busy in my personal life, so I've been a little more tired than usual.
Where is this going? Right.
So well, my question is, for the life of me, I'm trying to figure out if I missed something in this movie. Like, did I nod off for like 2 minutes when they explained who the hell this guy is, where he came from, how he got these powers? Like, did I miss something, or do they literally just never explain that?
Oh, so it's all a nightmare. It's not. It doesn't exist.
But the people did end up dying, though.
No, they
And
didn't,
she
'cause
lights them on fire at the end, right?
Oh yeah, but then she wakes up.
But who'd she light on fire then? If he was, oh, you're saying that was part of the dream too?
Yeah, because she wakes up next to her boyfriend, and then the boyfriend turns into him again, and then it flashes to her in the mental asylum. So I think now I don't think the movie actually wants us to really think about this too hard, to be honest. But I think it was all in her head, but then because she couldn't get rid of him in her head, she ended up going to the mental hospital like her sister. I think that's what the ending was.
And then you get that drill that, I don't know, I guess she could still be asleep or something.
Yeah, I still
At
think
that point.
she's still crazy in the mental hospital. I think that's the point, is that she's haunted by this driller killer because she keeps having these flashbacks to the first movie. Like that's the.
So does that mean literally the entire movie was a dream?
I don't think the entire
Or
movie
at
was.
some point is there a breaking point, like when they're in the cabin or something?
Like, I think the friends do go to the house, and then
was all right? Wait. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Did she have a psychotic break once she went to the slumber party? Because that's what, like, she hasn't been to a slumber party since the first slumber party massacre. So going to this new one, like, triggered a mental collapse.
I can buy it. I can buy it. But at some point, she went to sleep. And
Yeah, I guess what I kind of assumed is that, yeah, for most of the movie, she's having these dreams and these visions where this guy's attacking her and whatnot. But then I kind of figured once you start seeing like the other people in the house get killed, then it's happening in real life. And then it kind of just ends with, her lighting him on fire, thinking she's won, but then waking up for that kind of last, horror reveal.
yeah, it felt like it was real when it was happening. Like the people start dying, they all start sort of running around, and they try and get away in the car. He's in the back seat. He gets the other girl. He chases them to the neighbor's house and like kills them right outside the door, and like, the guy's just lying there dead next to the door and stuff. But then after everything goes down, she wakes up, and then she thinks her boyfriend's there, and then he turns into him, and then she wakes up again in the insane asylum. So like I think the idea is that no one actually died per se, or maybe they did. Maybe she did kill them, like I thought was happening. But I think she wakes up, she realizes it's all a nightmare, but he's still there. She's not got rid of him in her head yet, and that's why she's at the insane asylum. Admittedly, though, I don't think this movie actually cares that much about this. I don't think it's like I don't think it wants us to actually figure it out too much. But if I'm going to analyze it and say this is what the ending is, the actual kills were not real. She was just in her bed sleeping for the last chunk of the movie. And but she can't get rid of this insane idea, so she's went to the hospital as a result.
That's why I was like really trying to wrap my head around, like, is there something I missed? Or
if you're asking why is she specifically imagining this killer, I cannot tell you that. All I can give you is the guy in the first movie used a drill. She is now a guitarist. This has fused those things together to create this character who at one point, yes, does have like a sort of dance number where he plays some music downstairs while they're hiding upstairs, and he just starts dancing around the room and like singing along with the song and smacking the drums. And
I think what gets me is I love the craziness of this character, but I would have liked at least, even if it's one dumb sentence of being like, I was resurrected, or like I was resurrected by the power of rock, or like I'm possessing your boyfriend, or something. Like even just some dumb throwaway thing to at least give it some type of reasoning. I don't know. It feels like, I guess, a little lazy to not even have some small thing to attempt an explanation. And I understand, obviously, like you said, the filmmakers probably aren't too concerned.
Reasons? You wanted reasons? Are you mad?
I'm not asking for good reasons. Just a reason. Just give me something.
So eventually everyone dies but her and her best friend, and they run down the street. The guy's chased. There's some cool stuff with his shadow as they're getting chased down the street and stuff. I actually like the shots of them running down away from the house, and they go into this unfinished house, this work site. And I do have to pick apart. There's a moment here where he's sneaking up behind them, and the best friend, what's her name? She's oh god, I want to say Amy, but I really have no idea. But she's like they're going through like, between these two beams in the house that's unfinished, and she's pretending like it's hard to get through, like she's getting stuck. But this thing is practically a door. Like I don't know why she's struggling, but she's pretending as if she's stuck. And the killer runs up behind her and like slashes the drill across her back, and I'm like, why? Like, I mean, it's a small moment. It's just such a small thing, but it just doesn't look like that she's actually should be struggling. It looks like no, I could gain 100 pounds and still fit through that gap. that skinny woman should not have a problem. So no. That's all I'm saying.
So you're saying she needs to mind the gap, essentially.
Sure. Sure. I love. I actually love how this ends because the friends like ends up hanging off the ledge, and she actually looks like she sort of rolls off intentionally. Again, it's one of these goofy things where the action just doesn't look quite right. But they're up at the top of this new sort of like, I guess it's an apartment building because it's quite high, and they go up to this top bit, and she ends up hanging off the edge, and Courtney's holding on to her. She's trying to like, hold her up, and then the driller killer comes up and like swipes his drill across, and she has to let go, and we just see her fall to her death and die. And that's pretty fun, but then she ends up setting the killer on fire, and he dives off the roof on flames. And I'm pretty sure she cracks a one-liner before she sets him on fire as well.
Yeah, she says something. I can't remember what it was, but I feel like it was something that seemed like the way they said it was supposed to have a really big impact, but it was just kind of one of those things like,
yeah, it's goofy.
Oh, that's your line?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much just like standing there allowing himself to be lit on fire.
Pretty much, but I do love how much he walks into the room with he's drilling. He's like, yeah, we're going to rock and roll, baby.
Yeah.
Before he like kills them, like, oh, it's good. He's so energetic. Like, so many killers are quiet, and I do love like this guy would never be scary. He's too cartoony for that. But for entertainment, he was working for me. Like I was.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. If anything, I wish I would have had a little more of him.
Yeah, that's fair. Of course, the MVP might be the awful character of TJ and his awful laugh. For example, at one point, after the night of drinking, Courtney has what everyone thinks is a hangover, but it's actually her, like, nightmares and crazy stuff in her head. TJ says, oh, I've got a good cure for a headache, and they're out by the pool, and he pushes her into the pool, and she's like down there for ages, and she's not coming back up. So the other guy has to jump in and, like, pull her back out. And they're all looking over, making sure she's okay as she's lying next to the pool. It's that shot looking up as, POV, and all the heads are over the top of her looking at her. And TJ just peeks his head in from the side and goes, yeah, sorry about that. How's your headache? Does his little laugh. Because actually, they find a dirty book, like, they think either her mother or whatever, like, whoever owns the house, was reading this really, like, dirty novel, and he's sitting next to his girlfriend who's the bassist, and he's just like, and his loins thrust against hers, and he's actually penetrated, and then he looks up and goes, are you in the mood yet? Not quite yet. And then he reads like another like 2 sentences, and then looks up and goes, how about now? And then she kisses him, and it's like, okay, that was enough. That was,
TJ knows his stuff.
He's a moron, though. That's actually he's like one of the dumbest movie. Actually, obviously, this is always a thing with these movies. They don't really look teenagers, but TJ specifically looks like he's about 30. He looks legitimately far too old for this. But I mean, they all look older. Don't get me wrong, they do. But him especially, he stands out as being quite long in the tooth.
So I like sometimes when you have a sequel, the people are like, oh, like, let's really beef this up. Let's make it a lot longer than the first one. But I like this movie. It's like, nope, we're gonna keep it a nice, brisk. What is it? 75 minutes.
75 minutes. That's how long the movie is again.
And that was about the length of the first one, right?
Yeah, but it's almost. I mean, let's compare and contrast. This one is 1 hour 17, so 77 to be accurate, and then the first one, if I can get to that, is 1 hour 70. It's the exact same. I mean, there'll be seconds difference probably, but IMDb's got them both at 77 minutes. That's how long these two movies are. They are short movies, and that's okay.
Yeah. I don't think the first one was a Corman movie.
Was it not? Was it? I can't remember.
I didn't remember noticing it on the first one, but I noticed it on this one.
Interesting.
He didn't direct it, but he produced it, I believe.
Oh, actually, remember how we were saying Officer Kruger and Officer Voorhees? The mother character for Courtney is Mrs. Bates.
Well, I didn't realize this movie was so entrenched in the horror universe.
Also, this one's not a horror character, at least as far as I know. But I just noticed the name. I think this might be the neighbor or something. Like, he's a small character, but he's called Mr. Damn Kids. Mr. Damn Kids. That's a name.
Actually, I like that.
I love a name.
That'd be funny if they just like cut to him like 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, just yelling, "You damn kids!"
Actually, I think that's what he says. Though he opens his door and he's like, "Those damn kids," and then he shuts his door. I think that's why they've named him that. He didn't have a real name, so in the credits they called him Mr. Damn Kids because that's his one line.
Yeah, people wouldn't know who they're talking about otherwise.
Yeah. As I mean, we mentioned the kills themselves aren't as necessarily fun. There's a lot of like drills going through people, and there's a lot of blood spurting about. They're just not as inventive as the first movie that had a lot more suspense or build up to the kills. Whereas this one was a lot more jump out and kill kind of thing.
Yeah, the drill tar, as I'll call it.
The drill tar, I like that. I like it.
It definitely looks cool, but I mean, you can't really do much else that you couldn't have done with a power drill.
Exactly, yeah.
Other than him playing it during his dance number and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. He played his he played his murder weapon during a music sequence. Like, how often can we say that? So I'll also shout out for the old cliche of the perfectly fine car for some reason has trouble starting in the middle of the getaway scene, because of course it does. I think in my entire life I've been in a car once that had trouble starting, and like it's such a rare thing, and yet for some reason in horror movies all the time.
It's a self-preservation. The car knows that it's like, hey, I'm not gonna let this crazy bewildered person drive me and possibly into a tree or get forced off the road or
Surely for self-preservation it'd want to go though, so that it doesn't get attacked by the weapons that the murderer's wielding. If it's a sentient being, as you claim, then surely that would be the logical thing to assume.
Yeah.
Protect my owner at all costs because my owner won't stab me.
I would like to see a horror movie where they're driving like a Herbie or Knight Rider-esque kind of sentient car, but it doesn't do anything.
I'm down for that. You know what? I'm down for that. And we can call it Grand Prix Massacre.
Ooh, I like it.
or Motor Rally Massacre, or pick any type of like racing competition, but put the word massacre at the end of it.
What about Grand Theft Slaughter?
We're onto something.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Slaughter. I like it. Now, I don't imagine there is, because it's only 75 minutes, but have we missed anything that we would have liked to talk about before we get to ratings?
Not really. Went over all the big parts. There's, the majority of it is, kind of them hanging out, and then, the actual, like, slumber party and stuff, and it's all fun. But, I can't... I'm trying to think of like specific lines. It's kind of funny when you watch it, but I don't think there's anything that stuck out to me.
There's no lines that are super memorable, but there was a lot of funny lines in the moment. Like, I think when you watch it, there's a lot of laugh out loud of like lines. The cops especially, I was laughing at their lines. In fact, the one I remembered was that, they're holding our table at Denny's. Like, that's such a stupid line, but there you go.
Yeah,
pretty funny.
I like the very, very ending scene. Like, looks so fake. I'm assuming that they maybe used like a miniature set or whatever that they just drilled through.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it looks like really weirdly like stiff and small. I don't know, but
I think it's meant to feel kind of distorted because it's got this weird perception thing. It's almost like it's bigger at one end than it is the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got that. I had a blast with this movie though. Like I was into it. Admittedly, I do think I enjoyed the horror elements of the first one more because the kills were real for a start. It wasn't this old nightmare scene. Although this movie though, this movie doesn't pretend that that it is real though, because immediately once the kills start happening, the way he teleports, the way he kind of pops up feels very nightmare-esque. Like you can't really fault it because it kind of feels that way the entire time. It's not trying to trick you, I don't think. Not really. It's kind of obvious that that's going to be the twist, so you're kind of okay with it. You're here for the ride. You're here to see, you still get to see the kills because it's still happening on the movie. But yeah, and the characters are so funny and entertaining, even if it's a goofy way. Especially the killer with his dance number and whatnot, and dancing towards his victim before he kills her, and all sorts of things. So lots of good fun. So I guess we should rate Slumber Party Massacre 2 out of 10. First of all, do you remember what you gave the first one?
Was it like a 6? It's probably between 5.5 and a 6.5, somewhere in that area.
Sounds about right. Okay. So
for this one, again, it's something I kind of want to like more because I love like really dumb, cheesy horror movies. It's some of the most times I've probably laughed. Haven't really been at comedies, but I've been like these kind of crazy horror movies, and I think it does that stuff really well. But I just can't get into it enough because the horror elements aren't really there for me. So I'm gonna give it a 5 because I think it is still really entertaining in a bad cheesy way, and I'd watch it again with friends. Like it'd be a fun movie to make fun of, but yeah, it didn't reach the heights of like other like bad movies where it kind of like transcends like, oh, like this is so bad it's good. Like to me it's kind of like this is so bad that it's making me laugh, but it's not that upper tier of it's so bad that it's good, if that makes sense.
Not at all, but I'll take it. I just another line that cracked me up. Just again showing some of the goofy lines is so Courtney's having a breakdown at this point in the movie. She really thinks she's starting to like go psychotic, and she's telling I'm going through all this stuff to the ditzy drummer, and the ditzy drummer says, I totally get it. I'm going through stuff as well. I mean, I have the biggest zit ever on my face. Can you see this? Can you believe this? And that cracked me up. I gave the first one a 7. I went a little bit high on it. I was like, yeah, you know what? I kind of really like this. And this might sound crazy, Tim.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to go with a 7 for this one as well.
Well, I mean, that's fair. And there's entertaining parts.
The blast. Like it's a goofy movie. Again, it's not a good movie, right? It's not. But I had a fun time with it. I will watch this again. Like this will probably end up, assuming the third one is just as fun as the first two. I feel like I'm going to end up having a new triple feature in my hands. Like every single time I'm in the mood for a goofy 80s slasher movie, I'm going to like, I just watch all the Slumber Party Massacres. It's great.
But I would definitely watch it again. But for me, this is going to be a party movie. Like it'll be the kind of thing like I'll when I have people over that are like, let's watch something we don't really have to pay attention to, but we can kind of check in from time to time and laugh at. I think it's perfect for that. But
so here's just some speculation about the third one, which we'll be getting to sometime next week because we're going to do that as well. Do you think the third one, because I thought this one would be a completely new set of characters that were unrelated to the first one. It just so happens to be another drill guy and another slumber party. Do you think the third one will be completely unconnected? Because it was made a few years later. It was made in like 1992. Or do you think that once again there'll be like a connection to the old one?
I think there will be, at best, maybe like some throwaway line where someone mentions, oh, like that crazy girl that, blah, 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 or, oh, that murderer from a long time ago. But
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to follow like the main characters at this point.
That's fair. If I was to make a guess if it is connected, I will say that the killer is like the killer from the first movie's son, who's now grown up and wants to go on his own rampage. So he's gonna have to like I don't know, someone related to the people that survived before. I don't know. It's just a guess. Probably not. Honestly, my best guess is still it's going to be completely unconnected. But
I'm gonna guess that the killer is the person who lent the killer in the first movie his drill and was driven insane by never getting it back, so he goes on a murderous rampage. That's my guess.
Okay. That's it. Oh, what if the killer's like one of these girls from the first two? Who they've went proper mad and now they're the killer on the third one.
Oh, and Officer Kruger and Voorhees are on the case.
Joined by Officer Lee Ray as another partner. Yeah, and Officer Sawyer.
I just want to hear the line of the captain going like, Kruger, Voorhees, get in here. I can't believe the shit you've been pulling.
Sorry, Captain Myers. Oh, man. Alright, so I had a good bit of fun. I'm looking forward to the third one. Again, if you like the sound of the title, you'll probably have some fun with this. If you don't, then you'll hate it. You'll hate it with a passion. It's a goofy movie with goofy characters, bad dialogue, but it has that 80s charm to it, which I really enjoy. That is Slumber Party Massacre 2. Let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below if you've seen it. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mildfuzztv. Obviously, there's bonuses over there, including being able to vote on a movie selection once a month for Screams, as well as the other movie shows we do. But yeah, so that's us. So thank you for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next